everybody. How y'all doing?
Hello there. Last week, right? Co-host, who wasn't here last week?
No, we were not here last week.
So welcome back. It's been a while.
It's been a couple of weeks. We were not here last week.
It's been a while. We changed up a little bit. I have a shirt on. You know, I always try to wear these shirts, thing or whatever. Since we're going to be talking about Florida politics, I have a shirt on that is specifically worn for the governor of the state, and it says, "Congratulations, you've annoyed me."
I need one of those.
Yeah. The annoyance is so heavy. It's like, I'm doing my best to kind of keep my composure where this man is concerned. But we'll get into that. So we have a guest, as you can see. I'm gonna let my co-host speak first. I'm Nikki, Nernie, Grant, Pierre, however you want to call it. Well, let me not say however, but those are the names I go by, and you're allowed to call me those names. I want to thank you all for showing up, and I'm gonna let my co-host come in. I have to be sharing this page so everybody can see.
Okay, well, good evening again. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm Sandra Sheffer, one of the co-hosts of Race and Races. We got a lot of things we're going to talk about, but we wanted to actually focus this subject on like criminal justice, right? And so we got our like criminal justice expert up in here, Carolyn Wheeler. She's going to talk about, give different feedback and different perspective on some of the cases that we're going to address today. I've done defense work for a long time, so I tend to have a more of a defense brain when I'm thinking of almost anything. So it's good to have like a bit of a balance, and I believe Carolyn brings that. So I'm not going to talk too much because y'all hear from me like all the time. So we're going to let Carolyn introduce herself. I mean, she was on the show with us. She did like a whole season with us. Yeah, she was one of the originals. Did a whole season with us. Like I think the first year we were doing it. Then she's in a PhD program, so she be busy. You know what I mean? Trying to get that knowledge, and that's why I thought it was important for her to come on in today. So she's going to introduce herself, and then we're going to start talking.
They are definitely keeping me bogged down, but I'm looking forward to being back in full effect with this show in another year and a half when I'm all done with this whole thing, right? And then we'll like Dr. Carol Wheeler on my title. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me back. I love to have these discussions. I think that they are meaningful. I know that there are many people who rely on us to get this information because they're either, number one, not interested in watching the news because there's so many other things going on. They're depressed by local events, things that are happening within their community that are highlighted on the local news. And number two, even when they are watching it, sometimes they have a difficult time, keeping up with what's important for the Black and Brown community because our voice isn't the one that's being heard on the major news networks. So I think it's important that we do this. So I am Carolyn Wheeler. This is what I live for. This is my area of research, the way that Black people are impacted by events that we do not control. I am currently getting my doctorate of education at Nova. So I am a shark, just like Miss Grant over there. We are both sharks.
Yes, we are.
With all these, I'll go to the University of Chicago, like Miss Sanders.
No, we didn't. We chose the shark.
I'm one of those animals that be in the sea. I'm a gator.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm one of those animals in the sea too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we in good company there.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you, ladies, for having me tonight.
All right. So go ahead, co-host.
So I wanted to just talk about something, based on what Carolyn's introduction. She was talking about like how she studies like, Black people in the criminal justice system. So right before I got on the show, I saw this article where the guy who directed Black Panther, Hugler, he got arrested because they thought he was like a bank robber, right?
Can you imagine?
Fella, man got arrested.
His note said, I need money. I need $12,000 out of my checking account. Can you please count it in the back in order to be discreet? He did not want them counting out $12,000 at the counter and making him a target. He said $12,000 out of my personal checking account. I think that's what the note said. The pregnant Black female bank teller saw this Black man. He had on shades. It doesn't matter. He could have had on that screen mask. It said, give me the money out of my account. She should have checked his account first, checked his ID, saw that he had the money in there, and like for her to assume that he was a bank robber because he said count the money in the back.
And he did say my account. He
did.
We should. Yeah.
I mean,
she figured he couldn't handle $12,000 in the bank. Got multi-millions of dollars, but okay,
But the question becomes, what happened to reading comprehension? It did say my account.
My personal account.
You're gonna steal or you're gonna rob a bank. You don't say my account. So I'm just a little bit fuzzy as to what happened there. Like I'm a little bit confused.
There were definitely some steps missed. Like the first thing you do is see if this person has an account with the bank, right? Like there were so many other options that she had that were available, and she jumped right to, and that's a problem. There's a lot of stereotyping within our own community, and the article made sure to mention that she was a Black woman. We got to do better. We got to do better.
But you know what? It reminds me of the movie with Set It Off. Remember the movie with Set It Off, and then they came and they robbed the bank, and Vivica Fox's character, like she knew them, but she didn't think that they were gonna come rob the bank. She didn't know that they were robbing the bank. But the fact that there was this knowledge of who these people were, or she may or may not have known who they were. They fired her based on that, and then she was considered a suspect. Maybe, I'm trying to play devil's advocate. Maybe homegirl was like, listen, I don't want them making no connection saying I know homeboy and homeboy know me because he's sending me a note and all that other stuff. You look suspicious. I'm gonna just roll with it. I'm gonna roll with you looking suspicious. I'm trying to throw that out there because I'm pretty sure when they go try to interview her, that's one of the things she's going to say.
She came out on the wrong side of this one.
She did.
She came out on the wrong side of this one. I mean, there was some steps that she missed. You know what I mean?
And for him to get a whole arrested too, right? You know what I mean? Like
the people that were in the car waiting for him.
Like y'all couldn't ain't nobody tried to verify this man really had like $12,000. And I'm sure he's like, yo, check out who I am. Just go look at my bank account. So
Google me.
Get arrested. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just so interesting. Like you could go and make these folks make a movie that makes billions and billions of dollars, and you can still get mistaken for a bank robber. Like
I'm telling you, they lump us all together.
Like, how is it that he's not more well known, right?
Hot mess.
Unbelievable. Hot mess. Bank of America is about to lose a customer. That's for sure.
They may lose quite a bit.
Yeah.
Or at least put them on notice when Black people walk up into the bank. Y'all gonna make sure.
But one of the things I know, because I have a friend who does like movies and stuff like that, right? And then there are times where they need huge sums of cash. So what they usually do is you call ahead and order the money. So you usually want to be with the bank where you have a relationship when you need like large sums of cash like that. And usually they have a relationship. You have even if you don't have a personal banker, you have at least a relationship with the bank. You call ahead and let them know that you're coming to get that amount of cash. I suspect he didn't have an opportunity to do that, particularly if you're filming, you have extras. A lot of them are just getting paid cash. And so you need to have like money on hand to do that. So it's not unusual for people to come into the bank and ask for large sums of money. So really, and then again, depending on what neighborhood or what kind of community you're in, you don't want people to see you. And then even now, you can't even worry about whatever the neighborhood, right? Because the guy, the Godfather of Hollywood, his wife got followed home and got killed in her house, right? So it don't matter even like where you live. So you could understand why he would not have wanted to have people see him walk out of the bank with a large sums of money. You know what I mean? So for them to not take that into consideration and automatically jump to some conclusions that he was trying to rob the bank is it's problematic. I mean, they find ways to remind you Black all the time, no matter what you do.
As if we ever forget.
Not that we forget, but just in case you was about to forget, they go do some.
So transitioning to that, since we have Carol here and we're talking about criminal justice reform, a chief of police in Fort Lauderdale, by the name of Larry Scarotto, I hope I'm saying it correctly, was just fired.
He's black, or he mixed with something?
No, he's brown. He's brown. He's brown. He was mixed, and was fired because they claimed that he was hiring too many minorities. I'm just, my thing is, and his response to that was, I have to promote people who reflect the community that we serve. We do not have enough people who reflect the community in higher positions. And that was his stance. His stance was, I'm promoting. And the worst part about it is this was a complaint from a 20-year veteran, obviously from the Cauliflower Coalition. And they complained that they were passed up for minorities. And if you look at the record, he promoted 50% of the people he promoted was not of Black and brown people.
So your mathematics is a little bit off.
Okay.
There were 15 people that he promoted. 9 of them were white. That is more than 50%.
Well, yeah, and that right. But in terms of the percentage they were looking at in the report, it said 50% were not of minority group. They were white people. Like more, they said more than 50%. More than
50%. He promoted 15 people. Mm-hmm. 9 of them were white. I want to say white men. 9 of them. That means 6 people were not white men. Okay. And they complained about that. 9 white men got promoted, but they was worried about those 6 that weren't white. And that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And that is problematic. And that was the problem that he was trying to fix. And another thing that happened, they're saying, and he's saying, yeah, I said that. He looked at the wall of command and saw a whole row of white men and said, we got to do something about this. And he went forward trying to do that. The problem that we have is that we are so used to white men being in control that when we don't let them have their way, they cry foul. It's absolutely crazy. 9 white men got promoted. Of the 15 people, 9 of them were white men, and it still wasn't enough.
And the thing is, the fact that the white men who complained didn't blame any of the white men that were promoted for him not having a position is absolutely amazing, right? So the 9 white men, of course, they were qualified, and the fact that they beat me out is okay. But you're talking about the 6 that weren't, like, for real, dude. Like, so ain't none of them white dudes might have took your job. It's only the people of color that took your job. See, that's the part of it that just that's like really problematic, And I remember, I teach a common law class, and we were talking about quotas, right? And then they get into this reverse discrimination conversation and all of that, right? And like, just for example, a law school class, they're accepting 200 students, right? When they have quotas, they're saying they're only gonna accept, say, 32 Black people, right? So, and then for the white person to complain like, oh, the problem is the 32 Black people that you're going to accept. No, it's not, because when people normally, if you apply, you're supposed to have a 1 in 200 chance of getting a seat, right? So like, you have it's 200 spots, you got 1 out of 200. When they're making decisions to only, get like 32 Black people, you're no longer 1 of 200, you're like 1 of 32, right? And so the fact that there's never complaint about the other 168 people that got spots above them, and they're always blaming people of color, it's just too much. It's really like too much. Like, if somebody white gets it, oh no, they deserve it. And under no circumstance is anybody Black or anybody, females, I mean, that's a different conversation when you get into women, but like, nobody Black deserving, because a lot of times they won't complain like if an Asian person gets it, right? Like any kind of Asian, Chinese, Japanese, whatever Asian, Eastern, like Indian, whatever, like, they be like, oh no, well, they're smart, right? It's really, they have problems and concerns when it's a Black person that get it, and we need to be real clear about that.
And we need to also be clear on at what parameters was the investigation used to say, yes, we're going to fire you based on that. And that's an issue that we grapple with all the time, Carol. Like, for instance, this is something that hinders the reform part of the criminal justice system, right? You have someone in this profession making decisions to protect and serve in our community, but then you are fired based on the people you promote, and the people you promote look like the people who are in the community. How can this be? And tell us, based on criminal justice, how can this be a real negative effect on the community after this chief being fired?
It's going to have zero effect on the community. And I'll tell you why. Because the community is used to this. Okay? The community is used to this. The community is used to having somebody's foot on their neck. So they're going to be like, oh, this is just another thing that has happened. It's going to have zero effect. And that's the bad part, because we're so used to being treated like this that when it happens, you're just like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. Oh, I knew, so it's like, that's what I think. Now, I could be wrong, but what I think could happen is that this could be an opportunity for people within the community to be like, you know what, this could be the straw. And we have to look at positionality. So although Fort Lauderdale is not Wilton Manors, Wilton Manors is right there. This is Fort Lauderdale and this is Wilton Manors. And this biracial police chief was also a man. And the one thing
he was also a what? I'm sorry.
He's a member of the LGBTQ community. He's a gay man.
Okay.
And if we learned anything, we are still to learn stuff as a community. And I don't mean Black people, I mean the US, and we are slow to learn lessons. If we learned anything from the situation that happened, I don't know the guy's name, but he was the coach for Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, used to be LA, Oakland Raiders. Now they're Las Vegas Raiders. He had a history.
You're on mute.
I am. Oh,
he was a Tampa Bay. He was a Tampa Bay coach. It's John Gruden, right? That's what you're talking about.
Maybe. I know he was in Vegas, and he had a history of making derogatory comments about Black people. But when they got them emails that he was insulting the gay community, he got fired. And so what could potentially happen here? It wasn't just the fact that they fired a biracial police chief. They fired a gay biracial police chief. And that neighborhood is just way too close. And there's a lot of people that don't live in Wilton Manors. They live on the outskirts of it. Okay, they live in the area that is patrolled by Fort Lauderdale, and this could end up potentially backfiring on them on Fort Lauderdale. That's number one. Number two, NAACP has stepped in, and they're like, no. And then there are prominent people from the community that are stepping up and saying no. And so, so this is definitely going to have an impact. But as far as the everyday citizen, this isn't even on our radar, because we're so used to this. And the fact that they were so out in the open, that's why I said, oh no, honey, let's check the math, because we're so they're not even, the people who filed the lawsuit are unbothered by the fact that we can look at this and be like, 9 white people, 6 minorities, and we still complain about the 6. We're not complaining about the 9. We complain about the 6. They know
more than 50%. The article said more than 50%.
Yeah. So it's just that. So they know that they have gotten away with this for so long. They don't even have to worry about the logistics of it.
And you have to know. And I don't know, but I suspect that there was no diversity on the group of people who decided to go ahead and fire this man, right? Like there it is.
Cauliflower Coalition, the Cauliflower Coalition hits again, honey.
I'm pretty sure. It's a problem. It's a whole problem.
And I think they thought they were going to get. And the idea that sometimes folks think that they can still get away with certain things, or they can engage in certain conduct with no consequence. In this space of like social media and all of that, it's a lot of that stuff you just can't do no more, right? Like there are things that you used to be able to do, and by the time people do like FOIA requests or the media get involved and they do court orders and this and try to find out and get access to the information, it's like stale news. Nowadays, no, you do something wrong, they're gonna put you on blast like right away, right? And then you're gonna have to deal with it. So yeah, and Fort Lauderdale, the Fort Lauderdale Police Department has a lot of other issues that they got going on. They got a whole bunch of issues, and pretty much what they did is that they opened up a can of worm that they're not going to be able to hold. Well, I shouldn't say they're not going to be able to. I think they're going to have if people start scrutinizing what was happening, like if they get some other outside agency to come in and start scrutinizing and looking into the types of things that the Fort Lauderdale Police Department does, they're gonna present
by Broward County Sheriffs. It's gonna be no more. That building's gonna be a one of those little.
It's gonna be part of BSO, right? They're gonna have to, I don't know, dismantle it. Something's gonna happen because when people complain, because one of my relatives used to work was a 911 operator for Broward, right? And they would take calls, and I'm telling you, Fort Lauderdale gets a lot of complaints. So the fact that they just put themselves on the spotlight and the radar like this, I don't think they want none of that smoke, but they're about to get it, right? They're about to get it.
And they need to get it so that way the other municipalities don't use this as a foundation, as a precedent to go ahead and fire people based on their promotion of Black and brown people.
I mean, a whole fire, not a demotion, not even like pieces, bro.
No warning, no. Here's a slap on, like we recommending you nothing. It's just like we're gonna fire you because he
has no contract, so they didn't have anything. He didn't have any protection,
right?
And they're just happy about it. They're like, he had no contract, we're not giving him no severance. Okay, he don't need your severance because he's not getting paid.
Yeah, he
all because he promoted 6 people of color. All because he promoted. I want people to
understand. Like he's well deserving. Because for them to have gotten that far, done those many years, they weren't mediocre. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I suspect that they really had to put in that work in order for them to even get to that place. And the fact that there's never any consideration that, you know what, a person of color may have been passed by before, right? Like when all these other people were getting promoted for the however long the Fort Lauderdale Police Department was being there, you're gonna think that it was never ever like a person of color that was qualified that didn't get promoted because they were trying to promote somebody white who they may have been more comfortable of being in a room with, right? Because when you diversify the room, it changes the types of conversations that you can have, right? And and I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. I know sometimes men don't like women in the barbershop because like when a woman's in a barbershop, the man can't speak the way they typically do when it's a barbershop full of men, right? And part of it is that. So yes, these the ones who are making the hiring decisions may have wanted to they prefer to work with people that they're more comfortable with and they can continue to have those types of conversations. So they may have, and I believe, and I suspect they did, pass on other people, women, men of color, women of color, whoever that were more qualified in order to give this white male a job. But that ain't no problem as long as they get what they want, right? And then they cry for reverse discrimination. And they never, and the fact that they think they never miss out an opportunity because of another white person is also mind-boggling to me.
It's insane. It's just insanity. All of it is just insanity. But it's clear for those who are watching and those who are tuning in. It is the fact that this man was fired over 6 people, not you, the majority who was promoted of 9. They scrutinize these 6 people who are qualified, by the way, based on the articles that I read. These people were qualified. This is not some schmo Joe that came off the street. These people have tenure. These people have been there for a long time. They're qualified for the position. But the fact there was 6 was too many. And we're like, oh, no, we can't do that. We're going to have to get rid of him. That's not going to work.
3 people, I think it was like 4 people that weren't promoted. 3 of the 4, one of the 4 was like, okay, I didn't get promoted. I don't remember the exact number, but I know those 3 people that filed the lawsuit, 1 woman and 2 men.
White woman and 2 white men?
Yeah, I'm assuming they were all white. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting because I think I talked about it before when I was part of the show originally. I've always kind of like taken an issue with the sheriff's office, that office of sheriff being a political office where the person who's running for office has to declare an office. They're either Democrat or Republican,
right,
or whatever, or what's the other one?
Independent,
third party, there, all kinds of stuff.
Right, Green Party, Blue Party, and so I've always taken issue with that. And when Tony was appointed originally by
DeSantis,
your homeboy, Narnique, your BFF.
That's Sandra's friend.
when he was appointed, they started digging up everything on him, right? about something he had done in the past and all this stuff, right? And I wasn't a big fan of him, whatever. But I was always a fan of the fact that he was the first black, sheriff, and the fact that he was a black man in that position. But then he was voted in again, right? And there was no question, like the people wanted him, right? The people spoke when DeSantis appointed him. We had no say in that. But then there was a vote, and he won the vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when he came into office, what did he do? He didn't do anything different than what Homeboy did in Fort Lauderdale. If you look at the people that Gregory Tony promoted, minorities. He promoted all his top officials are minorities. His underchef is a black woman. He promoted all kinds of minorities into those positions, and there was nothing that could be said. But here comes this guy doing the same exact thing, and he gets fired for it. There's a difference there. And so now we have to look at what is the difference. Let me tell you something. This is going to be problematic because we got somebody who shares a municipality. Like Fort Lauderdale that's BSO territory. I mean, you know what I mean? That's part of Broward County, right?
Right.
Now you have a Broward County sheriff who who promotes all these minorities, right? Including women. The top ranking official for BSO under Tony is a black woman, a black female. Okay. And so here comes this guy doing the same thing, and he gets fired for it.
Yeah, and Fort Lauderdale is an interesting city because this I believe most of the population of Fort Lauderdale is black, but when you look at their upper management and their elected officials,
does not reflect it.
It's not very reflective of the community. It's not very reflective of the community
at all.
So this is a problem, and this is going to be problematic. And so we need to. So there's a little bit more to it. And let me tell you, I hate to throw the gay card in, but we can't pretend that didn't factor in. This man got a whole husband. Okay, Gregory and his beautiful white wife, no problem when he promoted minorities.
He did get a little flack and blowback. They did talk about it, but I mean, but you can't fire him though. He can't be fired like that.
Not only could he not fire, that's the point I was trying to make at the beginning. Not only did they not fire him, they elected him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
the first time he was appointed and he hired these people, and then he didn't hire these people after he got elected. He hired these people after he promoted these people after he got appointed. And then we were good with it. We were good with it because we know we were good with it because he kept his job. Despite everything that happened, he kept his job. So we were good with it. But Homeboy come up and do the same thing. No, actually he didn't because he promoted 9 of them.
Right.
And the thing is, like, this isn't something that's just not that's only happening in South Florida, right? Kim Fox, who is the they call it the district attorney in Chicago, in Illinois, in Chicago, Cook County, right? Yep. When she went into the office, right? She looked at upper management. She's like, "Yo, this is a problem," because coming out of the lower level attorneys, that is very diverse. They got black women, all of that, right? But when she started looking at upper management, it was like all white males, and she was like, "How is it that no, women and black women and black men aren't able to make it to higher level positions," right? And that part of it is because the people who are again interviewing and hiring they hire their comfort zone. And I'm not saying that's the only reason, because it wasn't. And then so she said, "No, this gonna change, and I want resumes, and I want females, black men, black women, Indian, Asian, all of that. Don't bring me no resumes and no white dudes up in here because this doesn't make sense." And she went in, and people weren't happy about it, but she did it because it's not fair. You can't tell me that at the bottom, like all the field workers, we're gonna get into the NFL a little bit, is all all black. But when you talk about the positions where people got to think, manage, what you're saying, black people can't do that. And she went in and she did it. People were upset. Some people left the office. Some folks were demoted because you had people who had gotten promoted just cause, right? Not even because they would have, just cause, and they basically had everybody else doing their work, and they was just there getting fat checks. So folks were demoted. There's like, either you could take this demotion or you could leave. It's your choice, but you ain't finna stay here. So she went in there, she reorganized the office. So that is something that's necessary, right? Because we talk about equality and stuff like that. Well, we know it's not really about equality. It's really about equity. And what equity warrants is that no, you guys have been able to when I say you guys, I mean white men have been able to get positions over and over and over again, and black women, black men, none of them were even considered, even though they were qualified to weren't even considered. So it's like, no, we gotta just make this about, getting a person of color in there, just like what Joe Biden is doing with Ketanji Jackson Brown. It ain't like it's been Black women that's been qualified to be a member of the Supreme Court. They just haven't been given that opportunity. And the fact that he's intentional about this, I ain't mad at that. And I'm mad at that.
Mad we can only pick one. I'm just mad that we can only, because the list was beautiful. Okay. I'm just mad we only had to get one. But if whatever one we got, Sandra and I spoke about it, whatever one we got, we was okay with it, because they were way more than qualified than some people that's on the Supreme Court today. So I mean, if we could swap two of them out with two of the other ones that was on the list, that would work for me too.
It's a couple, because a couple of them got there, and it's like, for real, you got a job before Ketanji Jackson Brown. Okay,
all right. So moving right along now, there's we're towards the end of the legislative session here in Florida, which was grueling and just.
So talk about Osgood one, and
that's right.
Is she gonna get over there? Because I think they finish up this week.
Well, they're saying that there might be a special session because the governor wants to veto. We're in battle right now for the map. So the governor has basically said, whatever you bring to me, and if it's not what I'm looking for, I'm vetoing it. So if that happens, we will have to be in a special legislative session. And if that happens, then Dr. Rosalind Osgood, who just won her seat yesterday, may be sworn in and would be part of that special session if that happens. He's made it very clear. He's very vocal about it. He stated that he will, he will veto it. And this is basically what area is it again? I forgot. I think it was 104. Sandra, 104 that they're fighting over, because it's a huge Black district, and he basically wants to split it and cut it.
94? He wants to split 94?
No. The district that's in question, I think, is District 104.
Okay.
It's I think it's up near Orange County. I think.
No, not 104, because I think I'm near 104.
Is it just a single number? I think it's a single.
It's not 104, because I'm in that 104 area. Like,
okay, so no, then it's a single number.
That's around here, so it's not.
So it has to be 4 or 5, District 4 or 5. I can't remember. But he's basically saying, listen, we're not. I'm gonna veto it, and if he's gonna veto it, then we're in for a special session.
Well, he's just basically setting up litigation, right? Because I think just in the last couple of weeks, there have been a few cases where the Supreme Court have been like, yeah, this map ain't gonna work, right? So he can go ahead and play them games if he wants to, but he's really just setting the stage for litigation. Because and again, we have a conservative court, and they still saying like, please, Stevie.
Well, he did ask the court question. The court was like, "Yeah, no, bro, we're not getting involved. You need to make sure you get that."
So here's what's really happening. If you ladies care about my opinion about this, and I know you do. What's really happening is he doesn't really care about. He doesn't care whether he loses in court. He is setting himself up for that federal position. He's setting himself up for that run for presidency. And so by him making these kind of moves in Florida, he is speaking to a larger audience. He is speaking to a national audience. He is not going, the fact that he's even pursuing this, knowing that he is probably not going to win it, he doesn't care about that. The bigger picture is that he gets the attention of the good old boys, and the good old boys likes the way he's moving with that because they've seen it before. He already made it clear from day one. He made it clear from day one when he had his baby in there playing with them build that wall Trump blocks. Okay. When he had his toddler building a wall with them red and blue Trump blocks. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what he's doing right now is that is a dog whistle. This whole thing is a dog whistle. It's not about what he's going to be able to succeed with in Florida. It's a dog whistle. Mm-hmm. And those people who want to hear, those people who he's whistling to, they hear him. They're like, okay, you got our vote.
And I think I'm gonna agree with Carol on that, because I was in Tennessee at the end of February. My son had a tournament there, right? And they have no mask mandate in Tennessee, none. So I'm in a car because I had to get a car service because Uber for some reason don't really work there well. But so I'm in a car with a mask, and my daughter, we have a mask on. They said, oh, you don't have to wear a mask. I was like, no, my daughter has to wear a mask in school, so I just want her to be in the habit of wearing a mask. Because I was like, lady, I don't know you, I'm not taking my mask off, right? And then she goes, and then she's like, where are you from? I said, we're in Florida. She said, well, doesn't your governor say that you don't have to wear a mask? I was like, well, the county I'm in was one of the counties that got in trouble because they were insisting that students wear masks. And even though they're like, oh, you don't have to, they're like, it's strongly recommended, would basically mean you should, right? So what Carolyn said is true, because I'm in Tennessee and they know about what Ron DeSantis is doing.
His dog whistle is basically Florida's a free state, and y'all can come over here.
Oh yeah, and it's a free state. Yeah,
and he's been maintaining that. Even the behavior with going to the school and basically yelling at other people's children to take the mask off.
Right.
I mean, all of those things are just to build on exactly what you're saying, Carol, as to really to his base and saying, we're not going to be doing this pandemic theater. And how do you put pandemic and theater in the same sentence? But anyway,
we got almost 1 million dead people, but okay.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. So yes, you're absolutely right in terms of he don't really care. But the only good thing that may come out of this is that if they do a special session, the Honorable Senator Osgood will be sworn in and will be part of that. And we're excited for her. And we want to congratulate her again on a awesome win, although she has to run again in August. But we want to, for now, she is now the senator-elect of District 33. And look forward to seeing her campaigning up until the August. This is going to be a very busy, what is it? Mid-year, what is it called? Midterm. Yeah. This year. The other thing that we were been learning through the legislative session is that they wanted to increase the child age in terms of how they try them as an adult. Currently, it's 14. They want to increase it to 15. I got some information that 23 kids between the ages of 13 and 14 were transferred to adult court for this fiscal year, which was starting in October of 2021, and I think it ends sometime in June or July or whatever the case is. But that's in terms of how long. So in terms of criminal justice with children, especially juvenile justice, what are your thoughts on that, Carolyn? What do you think? And are you shocked? I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit before we got on air. I know you were asking what specific crimes, and I don't have that information, but what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm definitely not shocked. 100% not. I would just be really interested in knowing, and unfortunately, I wasn't aware that this was actually happening right now. Somehow this went over my purview, but I would be interested in seeing what the crimes are. Here's the thing. Everything that we do needs to be consistent. Mm-hmm. They need to have rules in place. Unfortunately, with these laws, they need to have laws, and forgive me. Fortunately, with these laws, they're not solid. So there's too much leeway in how they're able to apply the law. And so what will end up happening is you'll have two people of differing ethnic backgrounds committing the same act, and one will be sent over to the adult facility, and the other one will be sent home to his mommy and daddy and nanny. So I don't have an issue with any of it. That's why I asked you what laws, what crimes were committed, because I would want to look at that. Okay. For instance, I am horrified that this 5-year-old isn't facing charges.
What? That 5-year-old can't be facing no charges.
Listen, a 5-year-old got to do something. He can't come back to this school. 60 pounds, intentionally hurting this woman. It got to be some consequences. And this was like the third offense.
That's a special needs child.
This is a third offense.
Yeah, but that's a special needs child, though, right?
Maybe it's the school teacher in me that's speaking. Okay,
because you don't want no 5-year-old hitting you because you're gonna hit him back.
I can't have no 60 pounds.
Yeah, the 305 come out, and then you're gonna be like, you know it. You done swung on the 5-year-old. That's what you worried about.
Here's the thing: if you hit the 5-year-old back who hitting you with the chair, you're going to jail, and they going home and getting breastfed.
Okay, you can't arrest a 5-year-old. And when they said they did not arrest a 5-year-old, I'm like, and that's right. You're not arresting a 5-year-old, right? Because grown folks, listen, they understand that the kid's special needs. We're talking about 5. We're not talking about no 15. We're not talking about no 50.
Let's make sure we point out this 5-year-old weighs 60 pounds.
It don't matter. That person is still 5. They're still 5 years old, okay? So grown-ups need to figure out how to deal with people, right? You guys are professionals. They paying you money to be in the school to deal with special needs children.
What has to happen is that there needs to be more policies put into place with how we handle kids in school. It can't be where I can't even defend myself, because if I defend myself, I'm getting arrested. Like, you know what I mean? I can't do nothing. I can't even restrain this child that's beating me over the head with a chair without getting arrested. So going back.
No, but the fact that way, check this out. I don't care if that kid's 60. Let a kid swing a chair at me. I ain't gonna hit them, but I'm gonna get a hold of that chair, right? So I don't know what up with that fragile lady was in that classroom. Maybe she
in the corner. Yeah.
When I heard it, I was like, "What the 5-year-old did? What now?" That lady was in the wrong room. Okay, she was in the wrong room. But yes, but rightly so. I ain't gonna never say you need to be arrested. No, oh, sorry. You ain't gotta be arrested. No 5-year-olds. Like, forget.
Can we at least have him expelled? Can we at least have him expelled?
No, that's why they got professionals, right? These people went and got all of these degrees. They collected checks for them to deal with those type of children. Put your skill set to work.
I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna give you that. I guess, like I said,
we talking about a 5-year-old.
Yes, we are.
My thing is that when you're talking about a child with special needs and you're saying this is their third offense, to me is like you put this
y'all messed up. Y'all ain't doing it right. What y'all?
You in a specific class, there were specific teachers. There's a reason why if you're supposed to be trained to handle that kid, and if this kid is the third offense, then you know what? The school board, there's resources out there.
I think the first thing we can do is take chairs out of the classroom. They need to just go ahead and sit on them little bean bags or something. Remember the bean bags from the 70s? I had a yellow one. They need to bring those into the classroom. Those little bean bags.
My thing is, I don't think that the child, for me, a 5-year-old is a 5-year-old. When I see a 5-year-old, I don't get they big, short, tall, little. They 5.
Talk to them grown-ups.
And you add on that special needs component to that.
Talk to the grown-ups.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with y'all on this one, because y'all right. But
5, okay, please. I wish they would have said they put lock that boy up. Are you kidding me? Please.
I just think it needs to be something other than
that lady. She should have been like, listen, I ain't ready for this. I ain't about this life. Get me out this room. I mean, you got a 5-year-old got you in a corner, all scared. You can't breathe.
I'm just, listen, and I don't know if this woman is an older woman or a younger woman. My thought process is that a 5-year-old, they could have been 90 pounds. There's a way for you to outmaneuver a 5-year-old to get them under control. And then in a classroom with special needs, there shouldn't be not one person in that room.
They've been throwing chairs at themselves, but ain't nowhere in the world they'd have had me in no corner.
I think it said something like she fell over and knocked her head or something, which is probably
that what it was. She was getting scared.
Yes.
Apparently they probably snuck the fear on her too.
Apparently he jumped on her, and when he jumped on her, she
fell back and hit her head. Which was what put her at a disadvantage. But as far as the age limit, number one, I think that it needs to be. It should not be. Even 15 is young to be going to an adult facility. 100%. But then we also have to look at the crimes that are being committed. I think it was just recently that a child slit somebody's throat or something, like
in Miramar.
Miramar. Okay.
16, I think.
Yeah, so we have to look at but the problem, and this is the issue that is going to be ongoing, is that it's not going to be based on the age or the crime that's committed. They're always going to factor in race. There is research after research after research that shows that when two kids of the same age commit the same or similar act, one child is getting the desk thrown at them.
Yep.
And the other child is going home to their nanny.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem isn't that law. The problem is how they're going to apply it, because it doesn't matter what they put in that law. They're not going to apply it. They're not going to apply it with equity. So that is the problem, and that's going to always be the problem.
And so we're gonna have a little bit of a nerd moment right here, Carol. Okay, because so Carol, she took criminology stuff, and she knows about enemy and strain theory, right? You're familiar with those, right? And basically, what it is that this our society requires us to have a certain level of success, right? It requires everybody to have a certain level of success. And then, and if you don't meet those levels, all of a sudden they're putting all these labels on you. But what they don't do, right, they want you to be successful, but they don't provide everybody with the same types of tools in order for them to be successful, right? And that's part of the problem that we have, right? So when we're talking about aging, increasing the age limit, to me, all that is that they're dealing with symptoms of a bigger problem, right? And if you continue to make laws and do things that deal with symptoms, you're going to still have the problem, right? So you have kids, like for instance, when I was growing up, we had like a community center in the neighborhood, right? Where you can go play tennis, you can go to the pool, you can go to after school, all of this, whatever, right? Then they talk about they had all these budget stuff and they cut all of that out. So now you got all these kids with like nothing to do, nowhere to go, and all of this type of stuff, all kind of times on their hand, all these different types of influence. So you're gonna, like when we were growing up, they said an idle mind is a devil workshop. So you got like all of these, they're dealing with symptoms when you're increasing the age of who you send to adult court, when you're not putting in any kind of services to deal with the issues that get these children into situations where they find themselves committing crimes, right? Miami is becoming a place where you can't even afford to live there no more, right? Like if you got to have like 3, 4, 5 jobs in order for you to pay rent. And then now, like for example, the gas just went up like almost $1 within a week, right? So say you have a family that was at their budget. Like they was like, we ain't got $2. Like that's we busting at the seams, right? Now you just added $1 on the price of each gallon of gas. You literally have just disrupted this family, right? So now they're gonna probably be making choices of like, yo, I think we can't get no regular spaghetti today. We about to get some ramen noodles, right? And some people may be able to make that adjustment, but they don't think about these things. When you raise the price of gas for $1, those of us that have like decent jobs or whatever, it'd be like, all right, so I'm not going out to dinner tonight. We'll still be able to like put the gas in the car. But literally, there's some families like this is the straw that broke the camel back for them. The fact that within a week, the price of gas went up $1. And you can't really get around nowhere because our transit system is straight trash in South Florida. So you have to get a car, right? And now it's going to cost you, if you get like, I have a big truck. I don't want to talk about how much it costs to put gas in it anymore. But say you got a car that takes like 15 gallons. Now you just added $15 on every time you have to fill your tank. And to some people that might sound like nothing, but for their folks were like, that was it. That was like, okay, I'm done, right? Like that's what it took to completely just disrupt their family finances. So this adjusting the age is dealing with a symptom. Until we come up with things that's really dealing with the problems, we're going to continue to have this issue.
So I've added into the chat, if anybody's watching and you want to look in, and we've added into the chat the civil citation and other alternative to arrest dashboard. That gives you a breakdown of, for juveniles, that gives you a breakdown of cases, arrests, what the arrests were for, what precincts they were, numbers, and it gives you an idea of kids who are participating or eligible, and if they participate in the civil citation. It also gives you a glimpse of those who don't and get arrested, and then they transfer them for either to adult court or not. But this is a great dashboard to take a look at and get involved and see, especially if you have teenagers and young adults in your home that you will like to see, and also show them, give them an idea of what's going on. I think it's important that we give kids information. I think it's important that kids understand what's going on around them, age appropriately, I believe. But this is a great dashboard to take a look at and kind of see. There's a lot going on in there, but if you think of things specifically, you can find it on that dashboard. So that's in the chat for you all to take a look at whenever you have an opportunity to do so. NFL. So we were talking about the field workers. We mentioned the field workers. So, as you know, the Dolphin head coach was fired, and then he subsequently filed a lawsuit. He basically said that the NFL runs like a plantation. That's what he had said. That's his words, not mine.
But they hired a multiracial, biracial coach.
Ma'am.
Girl, if you
don't stop.
I mean, listen.
I told y'all I wasn't having no colorism conversation.
Listen. Okay.
Into no colorism conversation. I'm not going to measure nobody's blackness by their skin tone. Okay.
If we gonna say that he's biracial with his not biracial wife, then we gonna call Barack Obama biracial. We no longer gonna call him.
I'm not going to talk about how black somebody is based on their skin tone. Is all I'm telling y'all.
If he had him a black wife, then I might be. Even though people can marry whoever they want.
I want to see his black daddy.
Me too.
I still haven't seen the black daddy. I haven't seen the black side of the family.
Like, what was that homegirl who was the president of the NAACP who said she identified
Rachel Dolezal or something like that?
Her.
Her.
Remember her? Remember that black woman?
Got some braids and some yeah, she got braids in like the tanner, with the whatever the tanner that they use, the tanning lotion. Yep.
I'm just saying the jury's still out on Homeboy's half black daddy, and we need to see it. That's all.
I just want to see. Oh, so his daddy not black, his daddy half black?
I don't know. We don't know. He just said his daddy black.
His daddy is black. That's what he had said.
Listen.
His mama must be extremely white.
I'm not having no colorism conversation with y'all. What part of that y'all don't understand?
Well, we'll have
this conversation later.
My thing is, it's the cauliflower coalition for me, because I just, my thing is, it's the NFL. The fact that the NFL felt like this person who's the new head coach was going to be okay is a whole different conversation. But okay, but moving on.
They can't move on yet because they done did two things since then. Okay,
I'm moving on to you because I want to get to you.
Okay, because they done did two things. So they have filed.
Can I just say one thing though?
Go ahead and say it.
I know, Sandra. I know you don't want to have this conversation, and we're not going to, and we're technically not going to.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's like hire him. Okay, you're on the heels of firing Brian Flores. Now we got Brian Flores, filing this lawsuit, right? Hire him. Hire this man.
Yes.
But don't let him say he's biracial. Hire a white man. You know what I mean? But hire him.
And it was important. No, it was important for us to know
that they're not racist.
His daddy's black.
It's insulting. Hire him. We used to that. Don't try to pass him off now. Don't try to pass him off as black.
Man say he black, so we're gonna go with that. But this is the thing. So even okay, I'm not gonna quit. He said he black, so since he's black, right? The fact that see, y'all gonna stick me in this conversation, but I'm gonna say this though. Okay. If in order for you to be comfortable with a black person, if they gotta look like that, right? If that's the black person that you're comfortable with, and they got to look like that and be black for you to be comfortable, says something about you, right? Like it says something about them. Like it's a whole bunch of. I mean, like if you hired a black person, and if that's the level of black that you're comfortable with, it says something, right? It says something. What that something is. Again, I was trying not to get into this conversation.
You didn't.
But that speaks volumes. They be like, see,
so eloquently.
This is why you're an attorney. When that's the level of, that's the black that you're comfortable with.
Yeah. You are so eloquent with it. That, you know what? When I have this conversation in the future, that's the stance I'm taking.
Yeah, we're gonna use that vernacular when we start talking about it. So that way, that could take us away from the colorism conversation. That's what we're going to do.
And it goes more into our society. Like, so this is what
that's the black you comfortable with.
This is the black you comfortable with. I'm just being clear. Okay. All right. Now we understand. That was that. Remember the brown paper bag test?
Paper bag test.
So okay, so that's for clarity. We clarify. Now we have clarity.
All right. So they've done two things. So they're trying to move the lawsuit out of court into arbitration.
And Brian Flores is like, nah, I'm good.
No.
He
was like, no.
I want to see the judge. You got a black man saying, I need to see the judge. Like, no. He's like, oh no. I want my day in court.
Brian Flores is like,
you're gonna rig this process with the arbitrators.
I got receipts.
I'm not gonna say the process with arbitrators are rigged, but the process with arbitrators are rigged. So he's like, no, I need a whole jury because you don't have no jury in arbitration. You can bring in some witnesses, like, nah. We want.
He will not be moved, honey. He has receipts. Okay,
I stand with Brian Flores.
I stand with him too. And you remember we didn't you didn't get to talk to us, but Loretta Lynch is she's part of the NFL's defense team.
Really?
Yes, really.
Yeah. I feel like the NFL is just dirty and grimy. They dirty and grimy, and they play dirty and grimy. But
and so the other thing, so she's part of that. So that's another thing. And then
she's okay with this. Like she
works for a firm, and they hired that firm, and she was the one that's working on the case.
Listen, sis, I'm gonna need you to fall back on this one. I made you be like, listen. You've seen that before where somebody was like, I think I seen it on TV or something, where they was just like, no, I'm not gonna, no. I am not gonna be the face of this organization. Because they wouldn't have had her as the face of the organization any other time. Oh, they really tried it. Oh, they so slimy.
No, she tried herself. She didn't need that. She didn't need that gig. I'm like, sis, she didn't need that. As far as I'm like, listen, I can't listen. I can't tell nobody how to make their money and all that kind of stuff. But every now and then,
especially with gas prices,
you need to do it for the culture, girl. Sometimes you need to do that for the culture.
And what's the other side of it, Sandra, with Flores and his team?
What do you mean?
So people are complaining that his team is all white and he ain't got not one black person on his team.
I'm sure there's some black people working on that team, but I mean that part don't matter because this is about contracts, right? This ain't this. I mean, I kind of wish he would. I wish he did. So. I wish he did hire a black firm to do that just because, the exposure and the notoriety that those attorneys are going to get and the money that they're going to be able to make as a result of whatever, no matter what come out of this case. He basically just put them on a national spotlight. People are going to be coming to them. So he really just upgraded them. They may not want to say that, but he sure did. Right. And I would have loved to have seen him do that for a firm that at least had a partner of color. You know what I mean? Or at least they would have been willing to bring up one of their partners, partners of color too, so they can also get that notoriety and get famous and, make a whole bunch of money and maybe put themselves in a position where they can hire other people. So I kind of wish he did do that. But, at the end of the day, the case is what it is. So yeah, could he have done better? I think he could have. I mean, but okay. But Loretta, no ma'am. I like her, but I don't know if I like that.
I'm so done with her.
I don't like that move. But then the last thing, the other thing the NFL did, Russell Wilson, who was a Seattle Seahawks quarterback, just got traded to the Denver Broncos. Right?
Did he get traded?
So he had a no trade clause, and he pretty much agreed. He had to agree to it, and he agreed to it. But you kind of know when they don't want you there no more, and they about to just go make your life real stupid. So I guess he just said, "All right, fine, I'll go to Denver." Right? Denver is also one of those teams that Flores named in the lawsuit, right? Because remember, John Elway was the one that came drunk to his interview. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Denver ever had no black quarterback. I don't know if they even had any black. So they are here. They're gonna be like, we got a black quarterback now. What do you mean we raised
with a black wife? Like
some whole black kids.
and so why continue the lawsuit if I got a whole black quarterback and black cheering?
A whole black quarterback
and black cheering. Don't forget the black babies now. Don't forget them.
Black babies matter.
Oh, Mr. Neptune, he's always on our show. He always comes say hello. He says
people choose race. Okay, so race is a social construct. Race don't exist. So yes, you can choose whatever race you want because it ain't real. So that answers the question.
Well, let me say his question. His question was, since people can choose their gender, can't they choose their race?
Sure, and they can.
What you say?
Sure, they can, because race is a social construct. So you can make yourself whatever you want to be. Yes, you can. I don't subscribe to race anyway, so. But I do understand that they see me as black. So even though I do not subscribe to race. I don't fall out, but I fully understand that when I walk in the room, they see me as black. So I understand that.
When you go to the bank and you try to
cash no notes. I will not be giving them no notes. I will give you a withdrawal slip.
Send your white assistant. Send your white assistant to get the money for you.
To go get your own money out the bank, child. To go get your own money.
Woo, child. Sandra said she's gonna give you a withdrawal slip, honey. Not no note.
Not no note.
And he probably did give him a withdrawal slip with a note with
exclamation. The note was on the back of the withdrawal
number. that she could have looked up, but okay.
The note was on the back of the withdrawal slip. He had it filled out, and then on the back of that, he wrote a note.
I ain't trying to get knocked in the head walking out the door with 12,000 in cash. But she was like, all right, how about we just put you in a police car and embarrass you?
That's the best kind of security.
Not only embarrass you, but now it's all over the news that you out here having
people like $2 billion on a movie and still get a bank robber. That is crazy.
Because he has the complexion for the accusation. That's why
he fit the description.
He fit the description, and I'm saying that description is loose.
Very.
Exactly.
All right, so we're winding down to our hour mark, and I said that I was going to keep us on task here. So there was great information with Carol and how we talked about our criminal justice system. Obviously, it's flawed, and we're hoping that the powers that be pay attention, but not so much here in Florida. I'm just going to say it because that's not a priority here. But we are people who are engaging people to get more involved. And this is why we have this platform and why we do what we do. So I put the information in the chat so you all can take a look. But also know that you are able to go on the what is it again? Florida during our what do they call it again? During the session, floridachannel.org, where you have all things Florida legislator, what bills passed, what bills are still in committee, what bills are on the governor's desk for signature. You don't have to take it in chunks. You don't need to do everything all at once, but take it in chunks and look at some of the videos and some of the times when they're discussing bills and how most of people like us, Black people who are up in Tallahassee working hard, even though we do not have the numbers, but are a force to be reckoned with. So now Senator Osgood joins that group, and we're hoping for some sort of collaboration and some sort of discussion.
She said she gonna bring a busload.
She sure did. She said she was
a few bus loads.
Tallahassee. I'll be on that bus too, child, getting on people's nerves, be coming over there and acting crazy about my Black people. I sure would. So we are hoping that this session, we don't get a special session, but if, like Carol said, that he is out here with his dog whistle, that might be a very real possibility if he vetoes the map that after our census. Black excellence, before I go. One Black excellence I have is 12-year-old Alina Wicker. She is preparing to graduate high school, okay? And she's heading to Arizona State. And she is on track to becoming the youngest woman to ever work for NASA. So to our little Black excellent chick, Alina Wicker, we love you, and we are giving you shout outs. That is Black excellence if that's never been a Black excellence. 12-year-old graduating, heading to college already. Yes, honey, yes. Book of the week. It's called How We Can Win: Race, History, and Changing the Money Game That's Rigged by Kimberly Jones. If you don't know who Kimberly Jones is, she's the young lady. Her video went viral when Oprah took it. Remember, she's the one that explained racism in Monopoly with Monopoly money. Do you remember that video where she was like, you have Monopoly, and then the whole time they give you money and then they take the money, but they're in control of everything. She's the one that says, so she says, to hell with your target. We're going to burn it down because it's not ours anyway. Type in her name, Kimberly Jones, in YouTube, Facebook, or whatever, you'll find her. But she just wrote a book, and it's called How We Can Win: Race, History, and Changing the Money Game That Is Rigged. I'm all about promoting Black people, Black authors, Black excellence. So we have that little corner here, and I implore you all to read that book. Any final thoughts from our guest and co-host?
What's your final thought, Carolyn? Go ahead.
I am real happy to be here. Thank you, ladies. It's so nice to be back.
It was good.
My comfort zone. I am so glad that that you highlighted that little beautiful brown girl. Did y'all see what she's what she's gonna be majoring in? She's majoring in stuff we can't even pronounce. I mean,
pronounce it. That's why I didn't even say it, because I was
physics, engineering, planet.
That baby is on fire.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, you just born that way because you can't even teach yourself that stuff.
You teach yourself that stuff. And it's like she was originally going to go into this, but then she decided that she wants to build stuff. She wants to build a rover for Mars. And but what I love about her is that she is not just in this for her. She started an organization for brown girls who are also interested, or to get them interested in STEM. And so I love that. Like this at 12 years old, 12 or 13 years old, to be able to have that mentality that I got to not just do this for me. I got to be able to encourage or inspire other
and bring people up with me. Yes.
Yeah. So I might be the first to be the youngest at this or whatever, but I won't be the last. Amen. And so to me, that makes her even more spectacular. Yes. Is that she's not in this selfish mindset. She has created this entire organization to make other Black girls like her or more to become interested in what she's interested in. And so I'm rooting for her, honey. I am rooting for her so hard. She's the kind of person that would change the world.
Yeah, she will change the world.
Absolutely, because our Black babies are extraordinary, honey. They make mediocrity, all these mediocrity kids out here looking. This baby is
a mess.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
She's making me. I just hope I get my doctor before she do. I got another year and a half. I got to stay on point because
the babies coming out here. They just out here. These babies.
Because she about to
go through her bachelor's program in 6 months.
And she about to place out of all that stuff at Arizona State. She be like, it was called Common Core at my school. That's the required stuff. They got like a couple years. She about to place out of all that core. So just put me in my major. Got no time.
So my new goal is to get my doctorate, which is due in a year and a half before she gets hers. And she's just started her bachelor. So that's my next goal. Because I don't trust her. Okay, I don't trust her. She's gonna be done went through that bachelor's program in 3 months.
That baby done set the bar high, honey. She done set the bar high.
She's probably smarter. She's gonna be smarter than half her professors.
For sure.
She be like, they just won't let me teach this class because I can't get work authorization because I'm 12.
If I start violating the child labor laws, I'd be like, oh God, no.
She's like, wait till I turn 14. I'll be teaching this class because I can get a job.
Right?
We are not ready.
We ain't ready.
But I'm excited that this new crop of babies coming through, our Black babies are coming through and they're coming through strong. And I'm just so thrilled. I can't.
I mean, they always been here. You know what I'm saying? They always
been
here.
They've always been here, but they weren't highlighted.
Now they get highlighted and recognized.
Yeah, we need to highlight
thank God. Thank God.
All right, so there's a whole bunch of elections happening in August, people. It seems as though all those folks that got appointed that thought they was gonna finish out terms, they all got to run for their seats. Yes. And I think the school board that they're gonna he may appoint somebody now, but the person's gonna have to run. That seat is gonna be open in August too. So pretty much all the people that got appointed last year, it was all earlier this year because the election was in January. They're all basically in campaign mode right now, and they have to run for their seats in August during the primaries and then the general election. I think is November 2nd this year. I think it is. So and I think the primary is like August 23rd, maybe a date similar to that. And then the general election. So DeSantis is up, Marco Rubio is up, right? So those are the two that I need to see be gone.
Say less, sis.
Like, we got to get on board and
try to go. They have to go. Yeah, I mean, if we can get rid of DeSantis, we'll get rid of that Surgeon General. We'll get rid of the education of the Commissioner of Education. We'll get rid of that horrible press.
And the Florida AG needs to go too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All of them got to go. That press secretary he got. My God.
Attorney General, all of them got it. All of
them. Lord, they all have to roll, child. They have to roll, honey. So listen, and we've seen from the congressional race. Your vote matters, honey. People winning by 5 votes now.
5 votes.
Yes.
So, let me tell you.
How did Sheila get? Sheila got like 1 vote more than Homeboy,
5,
right?
5. She 5. It was 5 votes. Yeah, she won by 5 votes.
I'm telling you, people keep thinking your vote don't matter. Your vote is your superpower, honey. Stop playing. Stop playing.
Exactly.
That's how you tell people that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing for the community. They got to go. If you don't do your job, you don't get to keep it.
Exactly.
Vote people out. Period.
Exactly.
Period. All right. So we'll see you all. We may not see you next week, but we'll see.
Next week is fine. It's the 23rd that they may not see us.
Next week is fine. It's the 23rd. We ain't gonna be here. But we'll see you next week. Obviously, things will happen with the Russia-Ukraine thing. So from now until then, that may affect us, may not affect us. All I know is the way they're treating Black people in Ukraine, no bueno. No bueno. We see you.
Yeah, they're about to send them a whole. They just passed a budget, some emergency money for them.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah, and the money came. They took funding from certain things here to.
And it was. I think it was. If it wasn't unanimous, it was pretty close to.
The Democrats did it too. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't mind. We don't mind throwing money at a war.
That's a problem. That's a problem. So see you all next week. Thank you so much, Carol, for coming and talking to us about having me. Criminal justice is really
I miss you ladies.
Yeah,
you're a year and a half child. You can come do cameos every so often when you got a little break in between.
So,
let us know.
When we get off the air, me and Carol are gonna be talking about our Peloton journey.
Yes, I'm taking me a class starting in a little week.
You got a Peloton now? You got a Peloton now?
There's a tread.
I'm not crazy like Sandra. I got me a treadmill.
No, I got the bike.
With that bike.
I got the bike. Let me tell you,
I'm crazy with that bike.
I'll be right behind home.
All right, so let's run the commercial. Good night, everybody.
All right, see y'all.
Good.